Here's a classic balloon with a smiley face on it. I'll put my finger over this, which will then close it off and suck the air out of there. And 3, 2, 1. Oh, cool.
Did you notice, when the balloon was put in a vacuum chamber and the air was sucked out, the air inside the balloon expanded greatly, causing the balloon to double in size? Did you also notice how smooth and round it become? This happens due to the vacuum in space creates zero pressure. It causes the gases and processes inside the balloon to expand. So, can someone please explain to me, why in all of the photos of astronauts on the moon, or in space, none of them who are all wearing simple fabric suits, clearly show no signs of the ballooning that we saw in the experiment shown at the beginning of this clip? I have read that there are many layers when constructing these space suits, including non-expanding fabric layers that stop the suits from ballooning out. Even so, the air underneath the non-expanding layer will still try to expand and surely cause a high-pressure area, just like pumping up a car tire. Has anyone noticed that when you pump up a tire, it becomes almost solid, but astronauts seem able to move about quite freely, and have never complained about their ears popping like you get when flying in a jet across the sky? Let's have a look now at the layers of a NASA space suit.
And I'm here at the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Lab in Houston, Texas. This is where NASA trains astronauts before they can go to space. I'm here with Terry Dunn, you're the Training Operations Manager. And Terry, we're in front of a spacesuit.
Right, this is the Extravehicular Mobility Unit, or EMU as we call it. And it's the spacesuit that astronauts wear for spacewalks, either the space shuttle back in those days or the space station now.
And so this is in use, this is the design that's been used for decades.
Right, it's essentially unchanged for the past 40 years.
Now, we've seen what the spacesuit kind of looks like, in photos and videos, but we don't really know what goes underneath and how an astronaut actually puts on the suit. Can you show us the different components of a spacesuit and all the various different accessories that they put on?
Well, sure, this is really just the outer layer, and it starts with a few things that we have over here. Now, on this table, we have the components that go inside of the suit, starting with the diaper.
Underwear in space, but it's a diaper.
Right, and it's big enough for an adult, but it's the same purpose. And ideally, you're not going to have to use it, but in reality, you're going to be in that suit about 6 hours. So.
And this is only worn when you're going to wear a spacesuit.
Right, and
not when you're just floating around the ISS. Up to them.
Right, personal preference, I suppose. But when you got to go, you got to go. Now, over the diaper, you're going to have basically off-the-shelf cotton long johns.
All right.
So
and cotton's fine?
Right, and the idea is that it's going to wick away any sweat that you have in there so that your body doesn't get slippery and you're not going to puddle sweat at the bottom of the suit. So you would have the pants and then also a long-sleeve shirt that would go over that.
Sounds good. Sounds like everything I could buy at a supermarket right now.
Right, so far you're good.
Yeah.
You're ready to go into space. Next, you're going to get derailed a little bit. This is the liquid-cooled ventilation garment. And basically it's a jumpsuit with very stretchy material, but woven in through that material are tubes that run cold water. So by varying the flow rate of that cold water, you can manage your body temperature. You can imagine with all this stuff underneath and then all the stuff you're going to put on the outside, you get hot very quickly, especially if you're working outside.
And so it's just through these tubes here, and it's designed so those are the points where heat can be released more effectively.
Right, it's distributed well enough that you don't feel point cooling. It's basically an overall effect.
Okay.
And then we've got the communication cap, and this is really kind of a NASA trademark. This is the Snoopy cap that you've read about forever. And and if you'd like, you may try it on.
I will. Wow, all right, so this plugs in then?
This will plug into a port on the suit, and then you've got electrical power, and there's a radio built in that lets you talk to the guys back inside the space station and indirectly back down to mission control. We would also have a few other ancillary items that are kind of at the discretion of the astronaut. They'll be wearing cotton gloves that go underneath the regular gloves. And again, it's the same idea as the undergarments. You're just going to want to wick away the sweat underneath. And then we also have a variety of pads and shields that help limit any contact with the metal inside the suit so you don't get soft spots and bruising while you're in there. And this would be an example of those.
All right, and then after they put all this on, they put on the EMU.
Right, the outer part of the suit.
All right, let's go check that out. Since we're here at the NBL and these suits are used for training purposes, how does this suit differ than what the astronauts actually wear in the ISS?
Well, if you take away the life support system, which is the backpack-looking thing up here, there's really no difference. In fact, a lot of the hardware that we use here for training is hardware that's flown in space before.
Been in space and repurposed as training.
Right. I like to think it's been upgraded for training, but they call it downgrading for training.
An astronaut would have to disassemble it from it hanging on a wall before putting it on.
Right. They would want to break it down into the same components like we have here.
And what do they put on first?
The first thing you're going to do is put on the lower torso assembly, which to you and me would be a pair of pants with the shoes built in. They call it spacewalking, but you don't use your legs a whole lot when you're spacewalking. So they would put this on, and it gets pulled up to about their waist. And once they've got that, they're going to waddle underneath this. Like in space, it's not waddling. They're going to float underneath here, and then squat through the bottom of this upper torso assembly, which is rigidly mounted to the inside of the space station, and then get their arms up through here, and their head will pop out of the top. And then at that point, they're in the suit.
And this is a very rigid suit. Like there's not a lot of mobility in here.
Right. The upper part, they call it the hard upper torso for a reason. It's really a hard shell, and despite the obvious comfort level of that, there's a reason for it. And you've got to have all these different things. The life support system, the controls for the suit, your tools, all have to be rigidly mounted. So you need that hard shell to be able to do that.
What are the materials that are used for the EMU? It's many different materials and layers, I imagine.
Right. There's a few different composites that I can't explain all the details of it.
State secrets.
Right. The different composites.
The more I look into space travel, the International Space Station, and the Apollo missions, the less I am convinced that even space exists. With a huge amount of evidence that is shown on YouTube every week, it makes you wonder what NASA are really up to, with this planned future moon mission that Donald Trump is requesting NASA do. I think everyone will be watching very close at every stage of the mission. So if NASA did fake the moon landings, they had better do a much more convincing movie of the future one coming up. And let me just say one thing. When NASA starts making excuses and delays to this new moon mission, think about one thing: can they really go? Have they actually been there before? And are they delaying the mission because the fake movie they are making of it is not quite up to scratch? Once 2020 has come and gone, and NASA still haven't set foot on the moon, then you can all say that Mr. Sandpit 123 was right. It's all fake.